Are you ready to learn something about the Concept 1B, the American Tier 9 heavy tank, which is going to be ranked reward for the second season of ranked battles from 2020 to 2021? Well, then keep watching that review, because after playing 83 games and having a damage per game of 3532, I finally got the third mark, obviously under the CC noob protection. But my goodness, I had tons of fun, and I'm willing to say that right now I have the best amount of knowledge to give you the most important information if this tank is overpowered or not. Now let's jump into the firepower of the Concept 1B, and already here we have one of the characteristics of the main features of this vehicle. It's 110mm high power cannon, and this is a very strong cannon indeed. It has 258mm of base penetration on an APCR round, meaning it's also very well suited for sniping at medium to even longer distances. But you also have a heat round with 310mm of penetration, which some might say is a little bit lackluster, at least that is what I've heard, while others say it's totally a-okay and it's totally fine and you do not need to worry about it. Combined with that, we have 400 alpha and the base DPM of 2276, which is exactly the same as what the AE Phase 1 has. However, the Conqueror, which is also a tank you could compare the Concept 1B to, doesn't have that either. He has actually a little bit less DPM, which is kind of mind-boggling. Yes, the Conqueror has better aim time and better soft stats on the gun. However, the fact that the Concept 1B does have better DPM makes it already quite more valuable, as well as the combination of APCRs and heats. Meaning, because obviously you cannot overmatch anything more than 35mm of armor, you can use your heat rounds to do that for you. So I never really had any problems when I was fighting against the Stridswagen 103 tanks, which have 120mm and more armor. Because simply I knew, oh, I can't really pen them, I'm loading in heat rounds and bada bam, bada booyah, it's already done for and I can go straight through. Combined with that, we have the same soft stats as the Concept 1, as the AE Phase 1 on the Concept 1B, with a faster aim time, giving it a more comfortable gun handling feeling. Sure, the gun, it can be a little bit potato from time to time, sure, it happens, but in the engagements you're fighting, which are medium to close distances, I hardly had a lot of issue with the gun, and it was genuinely enjoyable to use, especially with the fact that we have a 10 degree of gun depression on this main caliber, which is just so, how should we say, you know, it just feels so nice to use, just so convenient to use. But yeah, definitely the gun is one of the main points why I consider this tank to be insanely strong, or even, again, overpowered. It doesn't really look like that, but then again you also have pretty decent turret traverse speed, and again with a good crew you will be able to do that. And I personally, well, because I wanted to try hard as much as possible, I did use Bounty Rammer, Bounty Vents and Bounty Stabilizer. Everything you can get from the Battle Pass yourself as well. And again, it was just a pure joy to play, but you can even see in my non-tryhard gameplays that wasn't really a big of issue. I was playing with normal Rammer, normal Vents and normal Stabilizer, and it still worked. So yeah, let's jump to the next point, the survivability, aka its armor. And for looking at the armor, we are obviously going to jump into tanks.gg, and right now we only have the collision. We just use the collision model to give you a brief overview of the armor scheme. 130mm upper front plate, 130 lower plate, 120 lower side armor with much less on the upper side. Back here also 130mm at the engine deck. Then we have the driver's hatch, which is 90mm, 80mm and so on and so forth, which is chilly melee. Then we have the turret with 250 millimeters and 210 millimeters of spaced armor and 230 up there. So it gives you quite a decent chunk of effective armor right there. And lastly, we have the roof, which is 50 millimeters thick, aka it can be overmatched by 152 millimeter guns and higher. And we have the cupolas, which are 130 and 160 millimeters thick, and they are protruding actually a pretty decent stuff above the tank. The biggest and baddest feature about this tank obviously is its lack of HE protection. This is 90 millimeters. That back here is 90 millimeters. This is 19 millimeters. This means that artillery can just splash you for 644 damage, which happened to me against the T-92. Well, arty can also shoot up here, 20 millimeters, 25. Again, if you visualize like this, 25 and 25.4. Those are all insanely weak armor plates. And this makes the Concept 1B significantly bad against artillery. I had several games where I just died to artillery because the constant bombardment of those vehicles just kills the tank in a matter of seconds. Well, not seconds, but minutes. And pretty quickly at that. Where, for example, a tier 7 artillery can consistently do 300 damage if they directly hit you. And for higher caliber guns like the M53, M55, it's easily for them to just delete 500 hit points off of you. But then again, if obviously there is no artillery around, you are not getting focused by artillery, let's have a look at the live model. And yeah, if you're standing on the open field, especially the tank is very small, you know, it's not that good. It's not that good. Sure, turret looks fine and stuff. Hull fairly weak against the Concept 1B. You can see 82 millimeters of penetration. Other tanks will have it even easier because they have AP rounds, meaning even better normalization. You can see the cupola is fairly green, so it's also easy. Even that part over there is green. It can be penetrated almost 100% rate. If you start to side scrape, sure, you can start to have here pretty decent armor on the lower plate, but then again, you have this as a weak spot, you have past this back here as a weak spot. Yeah, doesn't really look that impressive, right? And that's the point. The people which are playing the Concept 1B in a flat face or on a flat terrain are doing it wrong. You cannot really stand behind a tank rack and just show your turret, because again, your cupolas are actually pretty big. What you have to do is use those majestic 10 degrees of gun depression, and suddenly you have achieved them. Genuinely, you just have achieved them. The upper front plate suddenly gets almost 300 millimeters of effective armor, depending on where you're aiming. The driver's hatch, forget about it. That is unpenetrable, basically. It's an auto bounce. And the turret front, well, good luck penetrating 309 millimeters of effective armor. Good luck hitting this small little thingy right here. Or maybe this pixel over there. I'm not even sure that most people know that there even is a pixel because of just the looks of the tank. Yeah. As soon as you start to play hull down with this vehicle, it's bonkers. It's absolutely insane. And you can bounce loads, shitloads of damage even, which is absolutely insane. And like, again, this makes this tank so overpowered, because if you look at this in this scenario right here, you basically have no weak spot. You literally do not have a weak spot. Sure, Conqueror doesn't really have a weak spot either, but this right here is basically Conqueror, Super Conqueror on steroids, you know? Sure, you can try to penetrate here. Good luck hitting it. Conqueror is a little bit easier back there. If you start to load heat rounds, it gets a little bit more differently. Obviously, the gun mantlet will be hard to penetrate because it is basically spaced armor, which might remove a lot of penetration of the rod, of the copper rod, of the heat round. And the upper front plate actually starts to get decently-ish penetrable. As you can see, as soon as we lose a little bit of those 10 degrees, it gets fairly 50% chance, and soonish we already get 70%. It happened to me fairly often that people were shooting onto my upper front plate, like SU 130 PM from like 450, 500 meters away, and because of the arcing, hit the angle at a very decent angle and just went through the upper front plate. But still, imagine, if you can't see the upper front plate armor, right? You still have to try and go for those cheeks. The gun mantlet, maybe you pin, who knows, might be, maybe not. During our tests it didn't really look like that. And yeah, that is the issue with this tank. It is insanely strong when played almost decently well. And in the current meta, where fast tanks with good turret armor and gun depression are getting promoted, or this is basically the meta. Be fast, have a good turret armor, go hull down. That makes this tank, it's purely fitting that meta insanely well. And with that armor, obviously, yeah, you have to use your brain. You cannot stand just in the open field. It won't work. It definitely won't work. But if you know how to use your armor, yeah, good luck to the enemy, because they are going to freaking need it. Let's talk about the next point, and that is the mobility. And the mobility, once again, as already mentioned by Wargaming itself, is absolutely insane. It is so good. It has 45 kph top speed and 18 kph in reverse. And that coupled with a 20 HP per ton ratio, which is absolutely insane in my personal opinion. It dwarfs the speed of AE Phase 1. Just as a little example or comparison, the AE Phase 1 has 35 kph top speed and 12 kph reverse speed at a HP per ton ratio of 16. And the Conqueror is 34 kph top speed with 12 kph in reverse with 14.4 HP per ton ratio. The Concept 1B is literally the definition of a heavium. It's a heavy medium, and it really shows. I consistently was the fastest person up on the hill on Malinovka, simply because I have such great power to weight ratio. Sure, some mediums are slightly faster than you, but still there are several mediums which can barely keep up with you, which is insane if you personally ask me. And when we are talking about modules, I know that, for example, Mailand, the German CC, big CC and Fame player, he also plays the Concept 1B, but he played it with a turbo charger, and he said it's insane. It's insane. You have 48 kph top speed and 20 kph in reverse. It gives you so much flexibility. Additionally, even getting 90 horsepower more, giving you around the power to weight ratio maybe of 21 even, which just is, ooh, it's good. It's very, 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 very good. And this is basically the last nail in the coffin. Why the Concept 1B is so strong or so buff as a tank. It has everything. It has a great gun. It has great armor if you use it properly. And it has great mobility. Something even the dreaded Chieftain can dream of. The Chieftain has a great gun, and the Chieftain has amazing armor at that sense. But, and here comes the big but, the Chieftain, even though it has roughly the same mobility wise as the Concept 1B, it lacks the HP per ton ratio. It only has 16.5 and not 20.6. So yeah, at speeds, definitely the Concept 1B is trumping the Chieftain T95. Now let's go to the conclusion of this tank. But do you know what also really helps a good mobility? And that is a good fuel range. Yeah, the Concept 1B, for no reason, even though it is a flat fuck Friday boy, like today's video, it has 400 meters of fuel range. It basically means if you're playing with rations, with a good crew, with good view range skills, you do not need optics, which leaves you to get something you desire, you know, like vents, like turbocharger, stuff like that. It's kind of mind-boggling because it's another feature you tend to like a lot, because you can just play with that view range if you want, with the mobility, and just works out splendidly. Really, it really does work out amazingly, and it's a lot of fun to use in that regard. Well, as already mentioned, the tank has everything. It has great mobility, great armor, and great guns. So, what do you want more? It basically makes it basically just gives you a chieftain on tier 9. Yes, the whole armor is not as good as the chieftains. Yes, the turret can be penetrated with premium rounds, and the cupolas can be fairly big if you are on a flat surface. But the tank is, it gives you all the tools you need to dominate the battlefield, to dominate without any repercussions the battlefield. I was talking to the Killzer about this on his stream, and or I was writing to him, and I asked him, what do you think about the Concept 1B? I consider it borderline OP, and it's like, dude, are you insane? That thing is OP. That thing is overpowered. I was talking to Keyhand, also one of the more known Feint players, and he said it's insane that something like this basically got yeah, that this thing is on tier 9. And that's the point. And that's also something I have to say, but Wargaming, why? Do you really need to make such an OP vehicle as an incentive for a very insanely toxic and very AIDS-inducing game mode, like Ranked? Do you really need to bait the players so much with a very strong vehicle in the greatest tier spread ever? And that's just kind of sad. Why does it need to be so strong? Because otherwise nobody is going to play Ranked or what? The Kampfpanzer 50T was already pretty strong and was a very very good vehicle, but I didn't consider it to be OP like the Concept 1B. And the Concept 1B will just munch on Kampfpanzer 50Ts like there's no tomorrow. So yeah, it is OP, period. Full stop, nothing else to say. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed this type of video. Don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to give me a comment. Algorithm gang, and I'll see you around. Cheers guys.